Thank you, Mr. Lynch. Mr. Kelly, I'm going to direct my first question to you. As you know, as Congress responded to the coronavirus pandemic, we faced a choice of moving quickly or responding perfectly. And I think we made the correct choice by responding quickly. And many of those programs have now been implemented or are underway, whether it's the Paycheck Protection Program or the economic stimulus payments. And many of your member companies have been involved in both of those programs and others. So my question is, taking a step back and thinking toward the next economic or other crisis and what we can do to prepare now for that crisis, what are some of the lessons that we've learned from our COVID response? How can we improve delivery of benefits to businesses and individuals moving forward? And what role can new technologies play in delivering those benefits?
Thank you for that question, Congressman. We applaud the actions of Congress in moving quickly to respond to the crisis, and we agree that the impetus to move quickly and the quick action was the right call. In terms of taking a step back and looking at lessons learned on where we are today, um, there are a few I think that we can draw already, and others that will clearly draw over time. The first, I think there is a real need for government and industry to come together, identify, exactly what it is we are trying to accomplish, whether it's getting dollars in people's hands, quickly across a broad spectrum or otherwise. Um, Determine, what is available and where there are gaps, and then look for existing tools to fill those gaps, and particularly technology tools. There are so many, fintech tools out there that can be deployed. As we were doing this in real time, obviously that's difficult to do, but now that we have a moment to take a breath, I think it's the time to do it. I also just think we should leverage what we have. As we've discussed, surveys of the unbanked and lower middle income Americans demonstrate that they actually prefer to spend using debit cards. Well, through this crisis, we've put those in people's hands. People already had them. Some people already had them as part of their government benefits, but they now have them as part of this. We should be out there educating people on how they can use them, making sure they hang on to them, because now that they have them, if we need to act again, we can quickly do so. So leveraging what we already have. And I just want to make one more point with respect to them. It's important. We talked about the fraud that inevitably comes up when there's a crisis like this. That is true. That is an added benefit of these debit cards. They protect consumers from fraud. So if they're lost or they're stolen or they're scammed or a bad actor gets a hold of them, that provides protection to a population that really, really needs that, and that we provide.
So I guess to any of the other panelists, any lessons learned from this pandemic and that might be applied to the future? Okay. Yes.
If I could suggest,
Thank you.
and then I think that is we do need to explore this new innovation. We need to start exploring the next level of technology side by side with the existing accounts-based technology, if for nothing else, to build greater redundancies in the system, but also greater optionality, more tools in our toolbox to use in crises like this.
And I think, I want to underscore what Ms. Kelly said here is using the tools that we have very quickly. And I think this is one of the things, debit cards are actually, she's right. I mean, most people under $50,000, they prefer to use debit cards. And so how do we get people to meet people where they're at and make sure our solutions match the problem and is not something that we want on the other side. So while we want a blockchain-based system, we can discuss that, but the problem here is the banking deserts. It is the unbanked and underbanked who, and we have technology to meet those needs. And so I think that's critical at this juncture.
Thank you. Thank you. And Mr. Chair, I yield back.
Thank you, Mr. McAdams.